I'm Bryan Thrift from Shelby, North Carolina.
I did a little bit of research,
Just a little,
on Shelby, North Carolina, to find out who's from there, besides yourself. And it turns out that there are a handful of fairly well-known country singers from back in the day.
Yeah, I think Earl Scruggs is from
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Handful of 70s disco music singers.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, yeah. Also, there was a couple of. There's a famous bank robber from Shelby, North Carolina.
Wasn't
Know about
aware of that either.
Really? Last name of Dodson, I believe.
Nope.
Yeah. How big is Shelby, North Carolina? 20,000? 30,000?
20 and 30,000, maybe more. I really don't know. I don't live per se in the city limits of
Got it.
Shelby.
Right.
I live in the surrounding area.
Okay. But you grew up in that area though, right? Is that
Yeah, within 10 miles, 15 miles
got
of
it.
the actual
Okay.
city. So.
Okay. I didn't realize how close you were to Andy Montgomery.
Yeah, we only live 6 miles apart, maybe.
That's crazy. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you've fished with him in team tournaments for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, back before we both started fishing professionally, we both fished team tournaments together for 5 or 6, 7 years. I mean,
Wow.
it was when we were both in college mostly.
No kidding.
Yep.
So I saw your video with Skeet Reese. Told a couple college stories about the what was it, baby seal?
The baby seal.
The baby
yeah.
seal. Let's clarify this. There was actually not a baby seal.
There
so
was not a baby seal.
So Bryan sat down with Skeet to do a video, and Skeet just did what we're doing. We asked questions. He asked you to tell some stories from college, and so you had caught a carp. Correct?
Yeah, so
just repeat
buffalo-
the question. So repeat that story.
Just,
So we're not.
All right. So the story goes is we used to go catch buffalo carp out of Lake Wiley and sell them to these little pay carp lakes. And we went one night and we only caught one, so we weren't going to drive it to the lake to sell it just for one fish. So we've got this big deep freezer on back of the truck that we fill full of water. We've got aerators in it, keep
Homemade
them alive
aerator,
and stuff like that. And we say, well, we'll just go put it in the campus pond at school. So we took it to campus. It's like 2 or 3 in the morning, you know. Everybody else is wandering around drunk and we're fishing. So that's how pretty much my whole college career went. But so we get there and we was like, well, let's take a picture of it before we put it in the pond. So we got this 60-pound carp sitting out on the grass, and my buddy that caught it, he's posing with it, and I'm taking pictures, you know. And then we slid it in the lake and it swam off, and we went back to the dorm room. And about 30 minutes later, we get a knock on the door, and it's the campus police. And they said, we've got reports that y'all have a baby seal on campus. And it turned out to be pretty comical. I mean, I almost got in a lot of trouble, but we managed to get out of it.
So far, so good. First Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour event. You're here as the very first person to win automatic qualification into the championship round.
Yeah.
You have 2 days off. What do you do with 2 days off?
I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Doing podcasts,
Yeah.
doing interviews, doing filming and stuff like that. You know, it's fun. I'm still waiting on my day off, so hopefully that's going to come tomorrow.
But you get a chance to sleep in if you so choose.
Yeah, I did.
yeah.
I slept till probably 7:30 this morning, so that's sleeping in a couple hours.
Yeah, it's sleeping in.
And it's been fun. You know, that's a huge weight lifted off your shoulders because you know, guaranteed top 10 right now. And so that's a good thing.
Does it give you anxiety to be off the water for a couple days? I mean, especially as conditions change? Yeah,
No, it doesn't really give me anxiety being off the water because, you know, we've dealt through a lot of conditions this week. I mean, we've had decent colored water to extremely high muddy water to falling water to water clearing, water getting dirty, and pretty much everything from thunderstorms to frost in the morning to 80-degree days. So the weather's changing every day, and I think the fish are kind of doing a little bit of the same. And I don't think it'll affect me. It's not going to affect me mentally any. It may affect the fish, and hopefully I can get out there Wednesday and figure them out a little quicker than I have the last 2 days. But you know, it is what it is, and it's going to be the same for everybody. I mean, yeah, the guys that fish the elimination round do get an extra day on the water in more current conditions, but I'll trade that for a guaranteed top 10 any day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So everybody's made kind of a big deal about the fact that this is your first time doing this particular deal, but you've been super chill. Like you haven't been at all spun, and that's your personality. You're just kind of a chill guy.
Yeah, and I think the format kind of leads itself to being just kind of chill, go with the flow because, I mean, first off, it's just bass fishing. I mean, we all know how to bass fish, and that's kind of the approach I'm trying to take to it. You know, it doesn't matter about anything. I've just got to go out there and catch bass like I've always tried to do. So that's kind of the route I'm going to take or try to take.
You have admitted before that you're comfortable on this lake. This is a place where you've had some success before, but there's something about this that feels good to you.
Yeah, this lake, I don't know how to explain it. There's just certain lakes anglers go to, they just get in a groove with the lake. Like I feel like everywhere I stop on Lake Eufaula, I'm within a cast of a 5-pounder. In my mind, that's what I feel like.
Right.
I may not catch it, but I feel like he's there.
Yeah.
And I just feel comfortable out there. I feel like I can totally swap up everything I'm doing and just go do something different and still got confidence that I've got a chance to catch a big one because I mean, this is the big bass capital of the world.
It is indeed, yeah. So you had a pretty darn good year last year, doing things a certain way. So did you have any nervousness at all about leaving that particular setup? Because you went over, what, $500,000? You had a great year.
Yeah, last year was really, really good. I'm not going to say I had any worries that were like major worries to me.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that was on my mind was the practice time because I'm so used to, I mean, it's my 13th year as a professional, and for 12 years I've had 3 practice days. And going to the MLF style, we only have 2 days of practice, and I was concerned that maybe I would rush through practice and not really try to take in as much information as I can in 3 days and just rush through it and get little tidbits. I was wondering how that would work for me, and I've made up my mind that I'm just going to go everything status quo like I always have for the last 13 years and see where that gets me. And if I see that I need to change, if I'm struggling, then I'll change up my practice strategies. But
I mean, this seems like a silly, obvious question because you won automatic qualification, but do you feel like your practice went as well as it could have?
Not really. I mean, I didn't practice Thursday.
You didn't?
There's a lot of storms, so I didn't even go out
rough
Thursday.
day.
Yeah, it was a rough day. And Wednesday, the first day, the only day I practiced, I had a few bites, nothing spectacular, nothing in any way, shape, or form to make me believe that I would even have a chance to win the round. But it was enough to give me a little bit of confidence that I could get some bites. But then looking at the long range forecast of what was coming, Wednesday and Thursday, I knew things were going to change. So practice was pretty much going to be a wash anyway.
Right.
So, and that's pretty much what it was. Like I didn't dwell on it, didn't let it get in my head if I didn't get as many bites as I wanted to, because I knew things were going to change.
So how do you feel about this whole structure of weights going back to zero, starting over again?
Yeah.
You like that idea?
I mean, it doesn't bother me at all because, when I first started my career as a professional angler, that's the way FLW was at the beginning. I mean, it was zeroed weights after 2 days and then zeroed the third day again. And so I've got a little bit of experience with that format, but it puts everybody back on a level playing field. And the thing I like about it is it makes anglers change quickly. It makes you have to adapt to the current conditions for that day. Sure. Like it doesn't really matter what you did the previous 3 days. You've got to change with those fish every day to stay one step ahead of them. I mean, if you're on a great pattern and it carried you through the first 2 rounds, but it's a dying pattern, you're not going to be there on the 4th day. So you've got to stay versatile and be able to adjust and do different things. So I don't mind it at all.
How did you feel about the fish handling processes? Totally different. We saw your fellow FLW transfer David Dudley have some really comical moments with his fish handling. How was yours?
Mine went pretty flawlessly. I never got a penalty, so that kind of surprised myself because I was under the impression I'm probably going to lead the league in penalties this year because I'm fairly clumsy. Like I think I did fall down one time the first day. I mean, I stumble all over the place in the boat, and I'm just sitting here thinking, I kind of do the same thing with fish, like because I don't want to get a hook in my hand, so I'm kind of conscious of it. But then I'm like, I don't want to lose a 5-pounder because I'm scared to grab him, so I just grab them and go for it. And it was good. I made a conscious effort not to let them hit the carpet and stuff like that, and never got a penalty. It was good.
How does the break period in the middle of the day.
Man, that's one thing I was concerned about. I was, before the first day, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to really like this 15-minute break, but I love it. I mean, it gives you it's a reboot. I mean, if you're struggling, it gives you time to sit down and think about what you need to do to get out of the rut you're in. Or if you're catching them, it gives you time to go through all your baits, retie, change hooks, everything you need to do to prepare for the next period. And man, it's pretty nice. I liked it.
One of the things that we're finding interesting is that it's not like these guys are strangers to you. You've fished with a lot of these guys for a long time. You've mentioned that you started the same year as, I believe, Otter Defoe started. Who else? Who else started the same year?
Myself, Ott, Andy Montgomery, Casey Ashley. We were all rookies the same year.
Yeah. So you have long-standing friendships out here. You're rooming with Luke Clausen, who, by the way, led the league in penalties for a good part of the year last year. So he stumbled a little bit. Yeah. But there's also this interaction among guys who you haven't necessarily been around much. Like, for instance, Jordan Lee just left.
Yeah.
I don't think you've had much of a chance
No,
to know Jordan.
I haven't had much of a chance to spend much time around him. And there's several anglers like that. But, it's been very welcoming. I mean, I feel right at home. I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm rolling with it and having a blast.
So you fished several TTBCs, which were kind of the all-star game, I guess, for lack of a better term. I mean, you saw Van Dam, you saw Skeet, you saw Finelli, you saw all those guys in those.
I sure did. I fished several of those and had a fair amount of success doing that. Yeah.
Did well. Is there any particular place on the schedule this year that you're looking forward to the most? Because you've done well at most of them. I mean, there are some that you haven't fished yet, and we'll get to that later. But is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to? Because you won on Champlain last year, correct?
Yeah.
You've won on Okeechobee. You won here.
I'm going to say the place I'm looking most forward to, and this is probably going to catch most of the listeners and viewers off guard, is the Raleigh Lakes. I've never been on them. I've never been on Jordan Falls or Harris, and I love going places I've never been. So it's going to be a treat for me. I love that thrill of figuring out a lake for the first time, getting to put my own twist into it. Like in my mind, I go into it as like, these fish know pretty much. I mean, they've seen all the baits and everything, but they don't know my tricks. So clearly, you're probably aware of how things went when we were there last year, right? You're clear. You've heard that we caught them pretty good. Yeah. And which I'd heard over the years how great these lakes were. Yeah, I mean, I've had bunches of friends, over 10 years back that was like, man, you got to come down here and go with me. These lakes are phenomenal, and just takes 35 pounds to win. I mean, just how great they are. And it's about a 3.5 hour drive from the house. And I just never really ventured out there. I never really had a reason because I'm always so tournament oriented that I would focus my time on lakes that, tournaments would go to. So like Lake Norman, Lake Wiley, like this is even back before I was a professional angler. I would focus on those lakes because that's where the big money was. The big local team tournament payouts were on Wiley, Norman, and Hickory. So I just kind of stayed in that little range instead of traveling out somewhere. I mean, I guess I was looking at it more of I need to fish where I can make the most money.
Makes sense. Absolutely. So you're in pretty good position right now for tracking well for heavy hitters. Your biggest fish is you're in the 6 pound range.
Yeah,
which is a good start.
It is, but there's a lot of 6 pounders caught this week.
That's the truth.
There's a lot.
That's the truth. We haven't seen an 8 yet.
No, we haven't. We have not seen an 8.
Curious when one of those is going to show up.
Man, I've got to say the odds are it's got to happen. I mean, this lake has got so many of those 5 to 8 pounders in it, but still, 8 pounders a big fish. I mean, and it's impressive how many 5s and 6s have been caught here this week. But I'm going to say if we don't see an 8, I'll be very surprised.
So you're 6 so far. So the next 4 events after this will take your biggest fish to qualify for a really unique big fish event.
I know.
You can win a lot of money by catching big fish. How badly would you like to make?
First of all, I was thinking about that after the first day, like after Friday when we fished the first round, and I had I think a 5.2 was my big fish, and I'm like looking at everybody's fish, like, God, this is like the 25th biggest fish of the day. I've got to catch one bigger than that if I want to make the heavy hitters deal. Yeah. So I mean, this is definitely something that I'm consciously thinking about because that, like you said, there's a ton of money to be made, and that's going to be a it's going to be a cool event to fish, cool format, and on a lake with a lot of big fish. So it's something I definitely want to make.
And it's a lake that the fishery is one that you've fished on it a bunch of times, like you've been there several times. But
Yes.
during that time of year, though, because that's the one thing that I think is the wild card for almost everybody except for JT Kenny.
Yeah, except for JT and probably the lanes that spent
exactly.
some time there. But
Like-
but yeah, I'm and that's another thing that I'm looking forward to. Hopefully making the heavy hitters event on the Kissimmee chain is because I've never been there that time of year. So it's essentially going to be like a new lake to me because we've always been there. That's kind of been centered around the spawn time of year, January, February, something like that. So to be able to go there in May when the fish are doing a totally different pattern or it's totally different, like just seasonal migration, I guess you would call it, it'd be very fun to be a part of.
So as we look back through some of the old archives on the FLW website and see pictures of a very young Bryan Thrift, did you fancy yourself to be a professional bass fisherman when you were a kid, or how did you come to this job? Basically,
I'm gonna say I've probably my senior year of high school, something like that. Right out of high school, when I started college, is when I really got into bass fishing heavy. I didn't get my first boat till I was a junior in college, so I was kind of a late starter compared to most people. I mean, my dad never bass fished. I just kind of fell into it. I mean, he had fished a lot and he loved fishing. He just didn't bass fish, so I kind of was self-taught, and I spent many hours at local farm ponds throwing every bait I owned. And I didn't realize how much I was learning at the time, but it's amazing just thinking back over the years, like how much I actually taught myself back then.
And so you went through kind of the classic course. You fished as a co-angler for a little bit. Had some success as a co-angler. So you learned that way. Then you moved up into the front of the boat and kind of progressed that way. And it's still to this day, it's a great opportunity for people.
It really is, especially with the addition of the high school and college fishing that they have now. I was a few years before that came about when I was coming up through the ranks. But, kids now, they can learn so much so fast and have so much more time on the water at a young age that, wasn't really there when I started out. So it's amazing to see what some of these young kids are doing now. I mean, it really is.
I feel like I've seen on your social media your boy doing some fishing, some casting from a young age.
Yeah, but he likes it, but he doesn't love it.
I got it.
Not yet. Not yet, right. But I mean, I've always said from the get-go, and me and my wife have talked about it, I would love for either one of my sons to kind of take up bass fishing and love it like I do, but it doesn't consume me. Like, I'm not going to force it on them. My only concern for them and my hope for them is they find that one thing in life they're passionate about and they want to try to be the best at, and they can really focus on, because that's something I feel like has helped me a lot. And I was just fortunate enough that it happened to be bass fishing that I took up with and kind of clicked with the most growing up. So as long as they find something to keep them occupied and that they really like, I'll be very happy.
So can you take a wild guess at what you would be doing with your life if you were not a bass pro? So you went to college for engineering, correct? Is that correct? That was
I tried that, but I ended up getting a degree in biology.
Okay. All right.
And I don't really know what I'd do. I really don't.
Fortunately, you don't have to make that.
Yeah.
All right. So you are able to legally, you can look at Score Tracker. You can check out what guys are catching. But you just told me you haven't looked at it yet. Is that a conscious choice or just
no? I've kind of been busy. I mean, I was at the service yard talking with some people, and they were saying some guys were catching them and all. And I think this is the third or fourth interview podcast I've had this morning. So it's been a pretty busy morning. The thing about it is I mean, I watch it, and I will. I mean, not watch it, but I'll look at the Score Tracker just to. Because, everybody's out there as my buddies. I want to, I'm cheering for them. I'm wanting them to catch them and wanting them to do good. But as far as what it's going to affect me when I get back on the water Wednesday, absolutely none at all. Then that's like I said earlier, I don't care what anybody else is doing. I'm focused on what I'm doing. It's as long as I catch the bass that are where I'm at, it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing.
So during the course of competition, hearing that Angler X has caught a 4.5 and Angler Y has caught a 2.5. That doesn't influence you at all?
No, that doesn't. It hadn't affected me at all yet. I mean, I could see a situation where, if we'll use last year at Table Rock when they were just catching ridiculous amounts of fish. I could see that messing with me, especially if you weren't getting bites every 3 minutes like some of those guys were. I could see that messing with me, but here it's kind of been a little slower pace because of the conditions we've been dealt with, and it's also the 2 pound minimum weight.
Sure.
Like I love that aspect of
Do you?
it. I feel like that greatly shortened the learning curve for me, because it's not a traditional 5 fish limit format, but it's comparable because you're having to target bigger than average scoreable bass. So now we've got a 2 pound scoreable bass, which is, most people think, 2 pounder is a small fish in a sense, but it's a lot harder to catch a 2 pounder than most people think.
2 pounders not a bad one.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
2 pounders, I mean, and that's what I thought of when I heard about or seen the announcement of the 2 pound minimum was, I think back over my career of all the 10 or 12 pound limits I've caught that I've done very well in events with, and I've been like, crazy excited to catch a 2 pounder. And I think back, it's not real easy to catch a 2 pounder.
No,
sometimes.
that is the truth. Let's go ahead and advance our little ways down the schedule. So we have already referred to Okeechobee. That is one that you, like I mentioned, you've done well on. You've also, though, by your own admission, you've done very poorly on there as well. That's Florida for most guys. Though.
Yes.
I mean, you're not the only guy who does that. But talk about your Okeechobee experience and your expectations once we leave here and go down to that.
Yeah,
fishery.
so it's Okeechobee's next on the schedule, and I've got a love-hate relationship with that. Like kind of like what you just mentioned. The very first professional event I ever fished on the front of the boat at Okeechobee, I won, and kind of made the chatterbait famous in the same process. And since then, I've had several top 10s there and several 100 place finishes there also. It's one of those lakes that I'm either on them or I'm nowhere near a bass. Like I don't know if there's a bass within 3 miles of me. So it's kind of hit or miss for me because it's hard for me because everything looks so good.
Right.
And I guess just not growing up fishing as much grass and reeds and things like that. I'm like, oh man, there should be one here, and then there's one nowhere.
Right.
So it's kind of, you've got to find that one area where those fish are concentrated, and then there's bass everywhere.
Right.
And if you don't find that area, you're in 100th place.
All right, so you're rooming this event, and I think for the entire year with Luke Clausen, correct? Yep. How long have you known Luke? Quite a while, yeah?
Yeah, me and Luke have been friends for, 10 or 12 years, I'd say.
Back in the Chevy days even.
Oh, yeah, back in the Chevy days since 2011, 10 and 11, and we've been good friends ever since.
Yeah. Which one of you is the better cook? Or do you cook?
I don't know because Luke hasn't cooked yet. I've had to cook all week.
What a shocker.
I know that was shocking.
What a shocker.
He did do the dishes a couple nights, so he's keeping up his part of the deal.
So that's the trade-off though, right? If you cook, somebody else does the dishes.
Yeah,
That's how we do it around
Luke's
here.
too healthy. Like he takes all these vitamins and eats all this oatmeal and stuff, and I can't do that.
What is your health plan on the road? Do you try to stay healthy on the road, or do you try to just get by?
I'm not gonna say I'm not like a diehard health fanatic, but I am kind of conscious of what I eat. I mean, I don't eat a lot of fried foods. I eat a lot of vegetables and things like that. Like I don't go out of my way to eat like tofu and all this vegan deal. I don't do that at all. I mean, I pretty much eat anything.
Yeah.
But I try to make the healthier choice of my options, I guess you'd say.
What and this is a difficult question, Craig, but what would you consider the thing you do the very best on the water?
Oh man, the thing I do very best. That's hard because
It is tough, right?
It's kind of something I've taken pride in over the last 8 or 10 years is being well versed in a lot of techniques.
Okay.
Like I want to be
Right.
fluid in switching from one bait to another. Like I want to have just as much confidence to go down the bank throwing a chatterbait and a crankbait, and then if I get to a dock, be able to skip a jig under it or make 3 casts at a brush pile and stuff like that. I think that's the biggest thing I have to my advantage is I've kind of gotten comfortable with every technique. I feel like.
Is there anything that you feel like you're weak at? Or weaker at?
I'm sure there's a lot of things I'm pretty weak at.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the biggest thing I'm weak at is getting trapped and not getting any bites and letting the wheels fall off.
Really?
I tend to do that a lot. It's like the less bites I get, the faster I fish, and it's just like a snowball effect. At the end of the day, I'm running around like a chicken with my head off.
Gotcha.
I hadn't got a bite. So,
All right. So then in theory, if you ever find yourself down around the 20th to the 23rd to 25th or whatever, and the anxiety is there to make to make the cut and you're not catching them, you could be an interesting study.
it's very, very possible.
Okay.
It could be one of them deals of the camera's trying to follow me, and they're like, "Oh my God, where's he going now?" And then he just stopped the boat, made 2 casts. Where's he going now? So it can get pretty comical.
All right. Yeah, but you fish pretty fast, typically. Do you not?
Yes, I mean I'm not going to say I fish blazingly fast.
Okay.
But
Because I've tried to follow you a few times.
yeah, I bounce around a lot.
Yeah.
Like I don't like to beg fish to bite. I like to find fish that are feeding.
Okay.
And to me, that's the perfect scenario when you can get a milk run of, a bunch of places that you can pull, high percentage places. And if I can ever get that going, that's probably my comfort zone. That's my wheelhouse. And usually when I can get a scenario going like that, it turns out to a pretty good finish.
If there were somebody else besides yourself that you would choose as the favorite from here going forward in this particular event, who would you choose as the guy to beat? You can choose maybe 2 guys.
2 guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to go with Wheeler. I mean, obviously he catches them everywhere he goes, and he's great at adapting and changing things up, and he works really hard at it.
Yeah.
My second choice would probably be Ott Defoe, because Ott, he kind of seems like he does things a lot of the way I do. Like he can give up on something really quick and go do something different that's totally opposite of what he does doing, and catch 40 pounds in 30 minutes and make you look silly. So I'm going with Ott and Jacob.
Did you pay attention to Major League Fishing in the television show and just the basic format before this year? Or before last year, even when it was
yeah, a little bit. I did, not as much as I did last year. Once the Major League Fishing format got rolling strong last year, I really paid a lot of attention to it because I loved it. I mean, it's something that kind of confused me with the fans. Was like fans felt like they had to pick a side. You're like, oh, I've got to like this one or this one. And like I'm on the sidelines looking. I was like, man, this is awesome because now there's just that much more fishing information out there for me. I'm a bass fishing junkie. I want to learn everything I can about bass fishing. So I loved it. I followed every minute of it, and I just ate it up from a fan standpoint myself because it's what I love to do. I mean, I want to catch bass, and the more I can learn, the better I'm going to become.
We're gonna circle this back around to where we started from. So the first day that you went out there, what that all feel like? I mean, because it's different. No matter what you say about the fact that you're still trying to catch bass, it's still different. The takeoff is different. The procedures are different. There's a whole lot of stuff about this that's different.
I mean, it's different, but it's the same. Like it's the major difference is the actual amount of fishing time you get.
Right.
You have no run time with Major League Fishing, so you're actually getting 7.5 hours of actually true bait in the water fishing time, which is amazing. Like we have 30 minutes right around before lines in, and that's 30 minutes you can spend looking for other places, looking for more fish, or you can ride up to your place you think you're going to hammer them on and put the trolling motor down and wait. And then at the end of the day, you don't have to factor in, an hour away, I've got to leave now or I'm not going to make it back.
Right.
Or if the water's rough and you have equipment malfunction or something like that and not get to weigh in, like that, the MLF format takes that out of the equation. Like you're not gonna get beat because of an equipment malfunction because of bad luck. And to me, that's amazing. Like they've made it the purest form of bass fishing there is, where it's, the anglers aren't penalized for something that's out of their control.
That's right. This is all supposition at the moment, but say you get into the situation down the road, because this tournament, it doesn't matter, but you get into a situation where you're comfortable in your position. Will you ever scout or practice during the course of competition? Because that happens a fair amount. You get to a spot where all right, I can't catch this guy for first place, so I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of move around.
Yeah, I definitely do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the beauty of bass fishing because it doesn't matter how good you're catching them. You haven't found the best place on the lake.
Right.
I don't. If you've got a 40-pound lead, there's somewhere that's better, and that's what drives me and what I love about bass fishing so much. So yeah, I practice every day that I fish so far in this event. Is because it's the thrill of the unknown. Like you don't know what the fish have changed to, and once you figure it out, it's like a huge weight lifted. I was like, you get that aha moment. And then, I've always said that, bass fishing, one bad decision can erase 100 good, or one good decision can erase 100 bad decisions.
Right,
I mean, it
right.
can make you look like a genius. So if you never take a chance to look for something else, you're never going to find anything else.
So let's give a prediction here. So you're in the championship. You're the only guy that we know so far at this moment in time who is qualified for the championship. How much do you think it will take to win the championship of stage 1?
The championship at Lake Eufaula. I think we've got some more weather coming in. I don't know how much rain we're supposed to get and all, but I'm going to say upper 30s, between 30 and 45.
30 and 45.
Or excuse me, 35 and 45.
Okay, 35 and 45.
That's what I think. I mean, we're supposed to have some warm nights, some warm days. And I mean, it could get absolutely ridiculous out there Wednesday and take 60 or 70. Like there's that many big fish in this lake, and if they pull up there and decide it's time to feed, somebody could show out big time.
Would you prefer that situation, or would you prefer it to be tougher?
I would prefer it to be tougher.
You would.
I would. I like tough tournaments, but I also like the slugfest, but it's I like a good middle ground.
All right.
A good middle ground is good.
Yeah, so we can have one period of bananas and 2 periods of struggle. Is that good for you?
No, I want it to be consistent throughout the day.
One or the other. I got you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut you loose for your legitimate day off. Go ahead.
Hey, day off
tie
time.
your tackle and rest up a little bit and have Clausen cook you some tofu or whatever it is you have to do. But thanks for coming by, Bryan. Really appreciate it.
I'm glad y'all had me. I'm having a blast in my first MLF event and looking forward to the rest of the year already.
Thanks, buddy.